Hi, and welcome back to another Exploring with Emma Stew.
And today we are continuing our Every Church Challenge quest, where we try and visit every single church in our local area. And this time it's brought us to the tiny hamlet of Southwood here, not far from Acle, where we're going to be taking a look at the ruined church of St Edmunds. So the parish of Southwood sits pretty much in the middle of nowhere, and to be honest, it really always has. It consists of nothing really other than a few farms, a few little cottages, and the large Southwood Hall that we've got here. But that didn't stop them building a good-sized medieval church here on the outskirts. St Edmunds is a very typical medieval parish church, built in the 14th century, and it consists of a belfry, a nave and a chancel, like we often see with these parish churches. But unlike a lot of the churches in Norfolk, this one now sits in ruins and is barely even recognisable as a church, as you can just about see behind me. So of course it's really difficult to see today with the abundance of ivy that's been covering this church since it was abandoned, but it's predominantly made of flintstone and brick, and we can take a little bit better of a look at that when we get inside. And here we are inside the church itself, through this nice little arched doorway and into the nave. And of course just behind us we've actually got the belfry itself, and we'll take you for a little look inside it. Unfortunately there's not too much to show you, and we do believe that this square belfry would have had 3 bells originally, and this small little splayed brick window behind us, and other than that there's not too much to show you in here. It's rather dark, sadly, so we can't see too much, but of course, like the rest of the church, it's been open to the elements for quite some time now. And we'll take you out back into the nave, or what of course we can see of the nave, because like the rest of the church, this has been covered in ivy for obviously quite some time now. Now this wasn't a very large church. It would have had a small nave here. The parish of Southwood really never had very many people living in it, so I guess they didn't need a very big church. But that didn't still stop them spending a little bit of time and money on building such a nice little, quaint, I think I'm going to call it, church. And just at the end here would have been the chancel, and there would have been a large window here. Now this church didn't really have very many windows, and you can't see them from behind the ivy, but there really was only just a couple of windows, we believe, in each side. But I think that's probably about all we can show you inside. Of course we're really just looking at ivy here. But we've got a few more things that we can, in fact, tell you about it when we meet up with Stu.
And here comes Emma, just out the church there. Now, I was just admiring the brick. Now, considering how old this church is, there's rather a lot of brick.
There certainly is, and actually this church is quite notable for having quite an abundance of widespread use brick, as well as obviously the flint stones, which we see so often in medieval churches. But I don't believe that it was actually quite a common thing necessarily.
No.
Particularly, I guess, on churches in the 13th and 14th century.
Well, that's it, but that's where
we're using brick.
Yeah, but this is where we come to the roof as well. Now, the roof's different, isn't it?
Well, again, these roofs were often, and I've got a photograph I can actually insert, or a drawing, sorry, of what the church would have looked like at some point, and it's shown to have a thatched roof. Again, it was very common for these churches to have thatched roof. We're on the Norfolk Broads, there's reeds everywhere, so of course they would have used local materials, no doubt, as well as those flint stones. But we do believe that possibly before that it may have very well had a tiled roof, and I think this was replaced many years before it was abandoned, very likely in the early sort of 1800s, possibly. But if you look very closely, supposedly, of course we can't, it's covered in ivy, you can make out where this original tiled roof used to be, because often they were slightly higher up than the thatched roofs.
Yeah.
Sadly, we can't see it today because our belfry tower is, of course, covered in ivy. But that's an interesting little fact for you anyway.
Yeah.
I'm just walking along on the outside of the church here, trying to admire that lovely belfry that we've got there, and I do believe that it actually would have had pinnacles on the top of it at one point, again, or so I've read, but it's quite amazing that such a large chunk has actually stayed up for as long as it has, especially with the amount of weight that this ivy is creating, obviously, on that masonry. I think they're actually trying to clear it a little bit, or so they were anyway, to try and sort of remove some of that weight, but sadly, no doubt, with any sort of real maintenance or money spent on it, eventually it will no doubt topple down.
And sadly, we are coming to the end of this video, but as usual, we've got a little bit of a surprise information from Emma, and we are going to talk about why was it abandoned?
So this church was actually abandoned, I believe, by the 1870s, 1880s. And I mean, it's no mystery really as to why it was, of course, abandoned. The parish of Southwood really is tiny. It only ever was tiny.
Yeah.
Although we do believe there is actually a deserted medieval village which has been recorded to have been not too far away, possibly near Southwood Hall, but I don't think that's been properly excavated. So it's only really a theory from the sort of finds that they found in the ground. I guess metal detectorists and things have dug up. But in 1870, they decided they didn't need this hamlet parish anymore, and they combined it with the parishes of nearby Cantley and Limpenhoe, and they already had their own churches. So this one was decided to become redundant.
That's
and
it.
Yeah, just really left to fall into disrepair, I guess. No doubt some of the stones have been plundered for other things over time, but it's actually more complete than a lot of the ones that we actually come across.
Yeah, but as was said, this is a very small look at yet another discovered church in Norfolk.
That's it.
We are going to come to the end of the video now, so we are going to be saying goodbye. But please, if you've liked the video, like and subscribe. It's been building our channel recently, and it's given us so much encouragement to come out to do more for you.
Absolutely. And of course, if you like churches, then we've got over 1,000 churches here in Norfolk. I think there's at least 150 that are ruined or abandoned, so we're particularly going to concentrate on those, I think, over this summer. So check out the playlist for that, because we've got a few already on there.
That's it.
And if you want to see a little bit more of our faces, a bit of extra content, you can catch that on our Patreon, and the link will be below.
So, as from Exploring with Em and Stu,
here at St Edmund's Ruined Church in Southwood, Norfolk. Thanks for watching as always.
bye-bye.
Bye-bye.